4, Chapter 7. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 7, Text 29. Rudra Uvacha Tava Varada Varangrav Asise Shekha Kilarate Ki Api Munibhir Asaktair Adarane Haniye Yadi Rachita Dhyam Ma Vidya Loko Apavidham Japatina Ghanaye Tatvat Paranugrahena. Lord Shiva said, "My dear Lord, my mind and consciousness are always fixed on your lotus feet, which, as the source of all benedictions and the fulfillment of all desires, are worshipped by all liberated great sages, because your lotus feet are worthy of worship. With my mind fixed on your lotus feet, I am no longer disturbed by persons who blaspheme me, claiming that my activities are not purified. I do not mind their accusations, and I excuse them out of compassion, just as you exhibit compassion towards all living entities." Purport. Lord Shiva expresses herein his regret at having been angry and having disturbed the sacrificial activities of Daksha. King Daksha had insulted him in many ways, and thus he had become angry and had frustrated the entire sacrificial ceremony. Later, when he was pleased, the yajna performances were reinstated, and therefore he regretted his activities. Now he says that because his mind is fixed on the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord Vishnu, he is no longer disturbed by the ordinary critics of his way of life. From a statement by Lord Shiva, it is understood that as long as one is in the material platform, one is affected by the three modes of material nature. As soon as one is in Krishna consciousness, however, one is no longer affected by such material activities. One should therefore always be fixed in Krishna consciousness, busy in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. It is guaranteed that such a devotee will never be affected by the actions and reactions of the three modes of material nature. This fact is also corroborated in Bhagavad Gita. Anyone who's fixed in the transcendental service of the Lord has surpassed all the material qualities and is situated in the status of Brahman realization, in which one is not afflicted by hankering for material objects. The recommendation of the Srimad Bhagavatam is that one should always be Krishna conscious and should never forget his transcendental relationship with the Lord. This program has to be followed strictly by everyone. From the statement of Lord Shiva, it is understood that he was always in Krishna consciousness and thus he remained free from material affliction. The only remedy, therefore, is to continue Krishna consciousness rigidly in order to get out of the contamination of the material modes. Because Shiva said, "With my mind fixed on your lotus feet, I am no longer disturbed by persons who blaspheme me, claiming that my activities are not purified. I do not mind their accusations, and I excuse them out of compassion, just as you exhibit compassion towards all living entities." So we get the qualities of the Lord by meditating on Him, and which is the source of and because your lotus feet are worthy of worship. I don't know if, I mean, Shiva actually got angry because Sati was killed. I don't know, he never expressed anything when he was insulted, of course. But anyway, we can learn this lesson that the minute our mind is thinking of something other than serving the Supreme Lord, because meditating on his lotus feet is possible when we want to serve him. That is when we'll think of the lotus feet. Of course, we also take shelter of his lotus feet for protection and all that. And he's saying that Your lotus feet, which, as the source of all benedictions and the fulfillment of all desires, are worshipped by all liberated great sages, because your lotus feet are worthy of worship. So, even when we want some benedictions, protection, fulfillment of desires, then we meditate on the Lord. But a pure devotee is not asking for all that. He is only saying, let me serve you. So thinking of his lotus feet means dasyaras. I want to serve you. And Shiva is saying, I'm always thinking about you. With my mind fixed on your lotus feet, I'm no longer disturbed by persons who blaspheme me. It is very difficult when people, that too, for such a great exalted person like Lord Shiva, to be insulted, especially by close people. He's a family. Daksha became his son-in-law. Daksha. Daksha was his father-in-law, and so it's even more hurting when a close relative is constantly, not considering the relationship, also not considering his affection for his daughter. At least that consideration should have softened him and thought that, okay, I will accept him because now he's become my son. And nothing like that. He was just relentless. And instead, he gave up his relationship with his daughter. Instead of the other way around, which Sati was trying to do, she thought, because of my relationship, I'll bring them close. But instead, he gave up his daughter's relationship also because of Lord Shiva. Such hatred. It's sometimes, but in the material world, we meet with that. We meet with somebody who may be very, very envious, or just hate you, and you may wonder why. I never did. They're not my enemy. I don't consider them my enemy, but they may consider you their enemy because of envy. So this is a very good example. We see how Lord Shiva, who's all auspicious, who always wishes only good for everyone, and for such a person to condemn him so much, hate him so much, and stop all offerings to him. This is like, and Shiva might have been a little upset about it. Naturally, we're all not stones, right? Have feelings, and somebody spews venom on you. Even Krishna transcendentally, he doesn't get affected, but definitely he says, as you surrender unto me, I reciprocate. So reciprocation is there. Shiva did not do anything he said that I felt bad. I'm not disturbed. And he was only thinking, he was talking about how he was upset. He was hurt by Daksha's things, but now he's not disturbed. And I excuse them out of compassion, just as you exhibit compassion towards all living entities. Now he says that because his mind is fixed on the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord Vishnu, he is no longer disturbed by ordinary critics of his way of life. So only in the material platform, when we are identifying with our body, we get very disturbed when people comment something about our body shaming. Nowadays, that word is there. Some, people really take offense if somebody body shames. Say something about your body. But you cannot stop people. They can say whatever, nasty people will say anything. Or they might simply criticize your activities without knowing anything much about why you did. And also, always there are people who maybe, knowingly, that's why we say knowingly or unknowingly if I've affected you. Because unknowingly, our actions may be displacing to someone, because everyone is on the mental platform and they can construe something which we are doing is not very pleasing to them. How can we stop it? And due to misunderstanding also, because mind is very, very fickle. So as long as one is on the material platform, one is affected by the three modes of material nature. As soon as one is in Krishna consciousness, however, one is no longer affected by such material activities. One should therefore always be fixed in Krishna consciousness, busy in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. It is guaranteed that such a devotee will never be affected by the actions and reactions of the three modes of material nature. So, so we know what happens whenever we are upset about people's behavior or people's talks. If we are always thinking of the Lord, then we will not be upset. It's okay. Let them say whatever they want. It's very temporary, right? And people maybe they are continuously harassing someone. And then we feel very, very upset. Why are they doing that? Very stressful. And people, if you listen to that and you react to it, and it goes into your mind, and it sort of keeps on coming in your mind, why they are doing this to me, why they're doing this to me. Stress, you take on stress, you allow it, then it ruins us. The health, first thing is the health goes down. Then we don't eat properly, we don't sleep properly, and all the anger and the toxins inside, slowly it's killing us. So many people become, because most of the diseases that people get are psychosomatic. It's coming from the mind, something they're stressed about. No relationship not working, people are harassing you or troubling you, envying you, or you know so all these sort of things, then it has internally, you don't know how it's affecting. It is there in the mind, disturbing the mind, and then slowly the body, the toxin has gone in. And negative emotions, right? Um, you feel what do you call, something, you start doubting, am I really that bad? Why do they hate me so much? And apart from that, we may also develop feelings of negativity towards them. All these things are toxic thoughts, and then they affect the body. And that's why Prabhupada said anyone who becomes Krishna conscious, first thing is good health, because all toxins go away and you're thinking positively, thinking about Krishna, then the health will improve. So, by thinking about Krishna is so important in all ways, even for our physical well being. Busy, one should therefore always be fixed in Krishna consciousness, busy in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. It is guaranteed that such a devotee will never be affected by the actions and reactions of the three modes of material nature. And it's said, corroborated in the Bhagavad Gita, anyone who's fixed in the transcendental service of the Lord has surpassed all the material qualities and is situated in the status of Brahman realization. So, just by rendering service to the Lord, by meditating on his lotus feet and being very busy in doing services for the Lord, then we can overcome all the three modes of material nature. And the three modes, we should understand, they are simply illusory. The Maya is making us completely identify in a particular mode. See, different people react differently to different material situations. There is tamoguna reaction, rajoguna reaction, sattva-guna reaction. So there is no one particular way in which people react. Different people have different types of reactions to different situations. So we can see that everything is very, very relative in the material world. And so there is no one particular thing. And then it is foolish to get harm yourself because of somebody else's, misbehavior. They are having some problems. For that sake, why we should punish ourselves? So that is why it is intelligent not to be affected by any kind of, misbehavior by others. On the other hand, if we think about Krishna's lotus feet, first of all, we'll not be affected by it. So we can be very peaceful and happy. We don't need to bother. It's all mental. Somebody's mental derangement. Why should we put it into our mind and make our mind also deranged and suffer? But instead, I'm soul. I'm real. I mean, I'm not the mind. Mind is very fickle. and it reacts at one time a particular way, another time another particular way. It's very, very what do you call, um, unreliable to depend upon the mind's decisions. So we use our intelligence and understand that Krishna is the controller of everyone. And if something is happening to us, it is with his sanction only. Ultimately, Krishna is only controlling everything. Bad things also are happening, coming from Krishna only. He's allowing it. So that whatever, for our purification, for our becoming more detached, for our becoming taking shelter of Krishna, everything is coming from Krishna. So when we know that, then we'll not bother. Why should I get Nate Vidu Swartha Gatim Hi Vishnum? So our real self-interest is in taking shelter of Vishnu. And all these other things are very, very temporary. And so then if we take shelter like that, then we have surpassed all the material qualities and situated in the status of Brahman realization. Actually, I'm not even this body. You say something about my body. If I'm thinking about Krishna, I'll not be affected because I'm not this body. So, okay, you don't like something about my mind, my body, my something. Doesn't matter, doesn't affect me in the least. In which one is not afflicted by hankering for material objects. That's also a mode of passion. We're always running after either gross material objects or subtle material objects. We want popularity or um, position, admiration of people, worship, or feeling false ego, being satisfied, I'm the best. All these are simply illusory things. And hankering for them definitely it's mode of passion which makes us think. And in a moment that can change also. Because Maya Devi is actually conducting everything over us. And if we take shelter of Krishna, Krishna can change that situation and we'll wonder, oh, how come my thought process has completely changed now? I used to think in a particular way. And ever since I took shelter of Krishna, my thought process is completely changed. So the recommendation of the Srimad Bhagavatam is that one should always be Krishna conscious and should never forget his transcendental relationship with the Lord. That is a wonderful thing in Bhakti Yoga, because in other yogas like uh, Ashtanga Yoga and Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga only Arjuna asks, oh Krishna, you're saying we have to subdue the mind, but the mind is very restless and turbulent and obstinate. I cannot control it. I cannot control it. And Krishna says, yes, it's very difficult, but you have to try through detachment and suitable practice. But in the case of Bhakti Yoga, we're not alone in our endeavor to progress. There is Krishna with us. We're always thinking about him, taking shelter of him. And so, by taking shelter of his lotus feet, we can pray to him, oh Krishna, please, I'm tormented by these thoughts. You please remove it. And he will remove it. That is the wonderful thing about Bhakti Yoga. Transcendental, one should never forget his transcendental relationship with the Lord. Whenever if somebody is, say, giving you pain, just think about Krishna. That's it. He will take care. At least he will make sure that we are not disturbed by it. We are very happy. We're not affected. That's the thing. So we should never forget transcendental relationship with the Lord. This program has to be followed strictly by everyone. From the statement of Lord Shiva, it is understood that he was always in Krishna consciousness and thus he remained free from material affliction. He did not respond, right? He could have easily cut the number of Daksha. Who is he? Daksha is only a Prajapati. Shiva so exalted his position. But he did not stoop to that level. What do you think? You're trying to act smart with me? I'll cut your number. I'll tell Vishnu, this guy is not required. He could have done anything. Or even if he had just exercised his power, he doesn't even before going to Vishnu, he himself is so powerful, more powerful than any of them. He could have just stamped him and finished, Daksha over. But he didn't do all that. Instead, he was thinking about Vishnu. See, that is very productive. Then we leave it to Vishnu too, because he's got a plan and a program in this material world. And that program is that everyone should go back to him. And a devotee who's very, very sensitive to Krishna's thoughts and what he wants out of love for him. When we love someone, we're very concerned about their feelings, their happiness, what they want, not about, myself. So, because Krishna wants, he's got a plan for this creation of this material universe. So, we leave it to him. Okay, Krishna, whatever you want. And Krishna takes charge of everything, especially for his devotee. He is very concerned. And then we will not have any material affliction. He remained free from all material affliction. The only remedy, therefore, is to continue Krishna consciousness rigidly in order to get out of the contamination of the material modes. If we act for ourselves, somebody is causing us pain and criticizing us, or exploiting, or rather, of course, we should take care. It's not that always we should just keep quiet like that, but then what cannot be helped, that here, what can Shiva do? He didn't do anything to Daksha. There's nothing for him to change or something. He's just on his own. He didn't like him for whatever reason. I mean, there is no way, and he didn't do anything to retaliate over Daksha. And he was just meditating, and then Krishna saw to it that he was amply punished. Daksha got amply punished. His head was just chopped off. For someone who's so exalted and so proud about himself, his head was chopped off and replaced with a goat's head. What could be more, demeaning than that? Being a materialist and very expert, he was very proud of his looks also. And now he had a goat's face. So Krishna knows how to, take care of everyone. And he made Shiva give him that new life of attaching a goat's head on his body. And so then he became very humble towards Lord Shiva. So Krishna is always, very just, whoever it may be. Daksha was his own worshipper, and still he made sure that he corrected Daksha, and he made sure that he understood the position of Shiva. Bhruguruvacha yanmayaya gahanaya prahritatma bodha brahmadayastanubhritastamasi swapanta nathman shritham tava vidhanti aduna pitatvam soyam prasidatau bhavan pranatatma bandhu. Sri Bhrigu said, "My dear Lord, all living entities, beginning from the highest, namely Lord Brahma, down to the ordinary ant, are under the influence of the insurmountable spell of illusory energy, and thus they are ignorant of their constitutional position. Everyone believes in the concept of the body, and all others submerged in the darkness of illusion. They're actually unable to understand how you live in every living entity as the super soul, nor can they understand your absolute position. But you are the eternal friend and protector of all surrendered souls. Therefore, please be kind towards us and forgive all our offenses." Bhrigu was conscious of the scandalous behavior exhibited by each and every one of them, including Brahma and Lord Shiva, in the sacrificial ceremony of Daksha. By mentioning Brahma, the chief of all living entities within this material world, he wanted to state that everyone, including also Brahma and Shiva, Lord Shiva, is under the concept of the body and under the spell of material energy, all but Vishnu. And Bhrigu Muni knows very well, because he went to test them out, right? He went to Lord Brahma. He wanted to see who's the supreme. He went to Brahma, and then Brahma, very eagerly wanted to welcome him. And Bhrigumuni didn't even look at him. He was looking at something else. And Brahma got very angry. And, he was about to kill him or something. And then he went to, no, I think he went to Shiva first. Or, okay, next to Shiva. And Shiva, he started blaspheming him. He said all horrible words to him. And Shiva he took his Trishul and he was, going to kill him. And Bhrigumuni ran away from there and we went to Vishnu Loka. And Vishnu Loka maximum, insult. He put his foot on Vishnu's chest. And Vishnu was not at all affected. He massaged his foot and said, "Oh, your foot must have been, inconvenienced because of my hard chest. Did you get hurt?" He asked him so lovingly. And Bhrigu Muni was just completely mesmerized. Oh my God, look at this. I never expected this kind of response. So Bhrigu Muni knows that very well. And so he is saying, that is the vision, as long, he said that everyone, including Brahma and Lord Shiva, is under the concept of the body and under the spell of material energy, all but Vishnu. And anyone who's worshipping Vishnu is also not affected at all. Like Prabhupada, in one of his programs in France, I think, they had made a big Vyasasana for him out of love and devotion, the disciples. And Prabhupada, high Vyasasana, and he was sitting there. And there was some envious people, one envious man who thought, what is this? Why? So he started criticizing Prabhupada. You think you're God or what? Why you're sitting on top and all that? And Prabhupada was not affected, but his disciple, Madhu Dvisha, he took the mic and blasted him. And, he told him that what is the purpose and all that sort of thing. So Prabhupada was not at all affected either by praise or by blame. People worshipped him like anything. That also he passed it on to Krishna. He didn't think it's for himself. And he was condemned. Any criticism like this, he was not affected. Okay, they are in the three modes. I've come here only to help them. How can you get angry? The doctor gets angry with the patient. Patient is suffering and then he gets angry with the disease of the patient. And how can he cure that? He is there to cure, not condemn. Conscious that he was not greater than Brahma, Bhrigu included himself in the list of offenders, ignorant personalities or conditions. He was not trying to act like I'm greater than Brahma and I'm judging him. He said, I'm also under that, in the list of offenders because of being in the bodily concept. Ignorant personalities or conditioned souls have no choice but to accept their precarious condition under material nature. The only remedy is to surrender to Vishnu and always pray to be excused. So it's good if we think that I can always commit any mistake. If we are in that state of mind, then we'll always take shelter of Vishnu. We'll not think I'm very transcendental, so nothing will upset me. I'm above everyone. That is pride. And then what will happen? We will be tested for sure. And then we'll be shown. See, don't think you're transcendental. See what you are. You're still bodily conscious. The only remedy is to surrender to Vishnu and always pray to be excused. One should depend only on the causeless mercy of the Lord for deliverance and not even slightly on one's own strength. That is the perfect position of a Krishna conscious person. So we don't have to think I'm very perfect. I'm imperfect, I'm very fallen. I can be perfect only if I take shelter of Krishna every time, every moment, in any situation. That is the perfect position of a Krishna conscious person. That's why we don't talk about, whether I'm transcendental or anything. A devotee always says, I'm so fallen. That is his greatness, because he's always taking shelter of Krishna. A fallen person means he'll naturally be very humble and take shelter of Krishna. That is his perfection. The Lord is everyone's friend, but He's especially friendly to the surrendered soul. The simple process, therefore, is that a conditioned soul should remain surrendered to the Lord, and the Lord will give him all protection to keep him out of the clutches of material contamination. So, this is um, very enlivening, inspiring for us, that we don't have to try to be perfect like a yogi and jnani. I'm meditating, meditating, meditating to overcome Maya and become liberated. There is no need. That will take a long time. Many lifetimes I sit, I was a yogi. Last year, last Janma also I was a yogi. This Janma also I'm trying to meditate, but something came and, I fell down. But a devotee can immediately transcend that. He decides, okay, I'm very fallen. But every time, if I'm determined, then what happens? We know that cause of all causes is Krishna. Controller of everything is Krishna. And if I understand that he's the only enjoyer of everything, I'm not an enjoyer of anything, then we'll not even regret. Somebody did something and took away my enjoyment. What does it matter? I'm not even an enjoyer. I am Das and Udas of Krishna. And we pray to Krishna, please engage me in your service, my Lord. I want to serve you. If we just cry out for that, that's it. We are in a very protected position to keep him. For that, we have to overcome ego also. Sometimes, when temporarily something is happening, people may ridicule us or tell all sorts of things. And on the other hand, we know maybe we are at fault or not at fault. It doesn't matter. You've apologized, you try to rectify, still they're not happy, whatever. But if we take shelter of Krishna and depend upon Him, that is the best situation, because Krishna will give all protection to keep him out of the clutches of material contamination. That is the purity of a devotee, that anytime anything happens, he's only thinking, taking shelter, running towards Krishna only, not trying to save himself on his own. That's how we are always together, the Lord and us. We are always together. We should never try. Our mistake in conditional life is we want to do separately from him. Our natural position is we are eternal partners in every situation. He is the master, I'm the servant, but we are partners. And so then, as long as the servant is with the master, no problem at all. He is just looking up to the master. You decide whatever. Master takes care of his servant. Nobody can mess with the servant. If anybody messes, they'll be taken care of by the Lord. So that is the wonderful situation. And only a false ego is not letting us accept that situation. No, 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 no. I'm also a Lord. No, I want to lord it and act like I know everything. I'm controller. I'm enjoyer. That is the one enemy number one, which is preventing us from just surrendering completely to Krishna. That is the struggle. That is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Cheto Darpana Marjanam. Only concentrate on that. That is what Trinadapi Sunichena. Only this one sloka, taru, um, Tarorapi Sahishnuna. Sorry, what is that?
Hetu Darpan Marjanam Mataji.
No, 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 no. Tarorapi Sahishnuna. See, I'm not thinking like that. That's why it's not coming. Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sada Hari. This one thing is enough to get us Krishna in our heart all the time. Whenever we are disturbed, just think of this. No, no, it's okay. Krishna, I will take shelter of Krishna. Please, Krishna, I don't know anything. Just depend on him and he will take care. So that is the most wonderful thing, that such exalted beings in this whole universe, they are saying this. Shiva is saying, Bhrigu is saying, Brahmovacha naitat swarupam bhavatosau padartha vedagrahai purusho yavad ikshet jnanasya chartasya gunasya chashrayo mayamayad vyatirikto matastvam. Lord Brahma said, my dear Lord, your personality and eternal form cannot be understood by any person who's trying to know you through different processes of acquiring knowledge. Your position is always transcendental to the material creation, whereas the empiric attempt to understand you is material, as are its objectives and instruments. Purport. It is said that the transcendental name, qualities, activities, paraphernalia, etc., of the Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot be understood with our material senses. The attempt of the empiric philosophers to understand the absolute truth by speculation is always futile, because their process of understanding, their objective, and the instruments by which they try to understand the absolute truth are all material. And but still, the rationalists will say, "What are you all talking about? You're talking all vague things. We want to see, be rational, be logical." They think that we are just talking some, some dreamy things which don't exist. They feel like that. But the thing is, this is science. Once we understand there is the fourth dimension, the transcendental, that is a spiritual dimension. It is a science. People who don't know beyond the body and mind think science refers to only material objects. What about transcendental science? You don't know about that science, so admit you are in ignorance, not those who are. And that's why we have to base it on Shastra, which is perfect and which is coming from the transcendental platform, from the Lord Himself. And so we should not speculate. And if you speculate, we cannot understand Krishna, who's on the fourth dimension. The Lord is aprakrita, beyond the creation of the material world. This fact is also accepted by the great impersonalist Shankaracharya. Narayana paro avyaktad andam avyakta sambhavam. Avyakta, or the original material cause, is beyond this material manifestation and is the cause of the material world. Because Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is beyond the material world, one cannot speculate upon him by any material method. One has to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead simply by the transcendental method of Krishna consciousness. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 18.55. Bhaktyamam abhijanati. Only by devotional service can one understand the transcendental form of the Lord. The difference between the impersonalists and the personalists is that the impersonalists, limited by their speculative processes, cannot even approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whereas the devotees please the Supreme Personality of Godhead through his transcendental loving service. Sevon mukehi jivvado. Due to the service attitude of the devotee, the Lord is revealed to him. The Supreme Lord cannot be understood by materialistic persons, even though he is present before them. See, this fundamental knowledge, this deep knowledge, is only given in our Shastras. Other people, other religions only talk about blind faith. Just have faith. That's it. Because they don't know what is transcendental and all that. They won't understand, because in Rajoguna, Tamoguna, can't understand. The only by doing, it's very difficult to serve Krishna. Even those in mode of goodness may prefer to merge in the Brahma Jyoti and become Brahman, but not serve Krishna. That is our disease. But if we develop service attitude of the towards him, then the Lord is very happy and reveals himself. That is the only way we can know him. The Supreme Lord cannot be understood by materialistic persons, even though he is present before them. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna therefore condemns such materialists as mudas, Muda means rascal. It is said in Gita, only rascals think of Lord Krishna as an ordinary person. They do not know what Lord Krishna's position is or what his transcendental potencies are. So, judging by that, in Kali Yuga, 99.99% are all Mudas who don't know about Krishna. Unaware of his transcendental potencies, the impersonalists deride the person of Lord Krishna, whereas the devotees, by dint of their service attitude, can understand him as the personality of Godhead. In the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna also confirmed that it's very difficult to understand the personality of Godhead. So when Arjuna is saying like that, who is such a great servant, how much ever service we do, it's not enough to know the Supreme Person. I mean, in his entirety. Whatever great devotees know is only also is a just small portion of his unlimited self. But whatever it is, if we are be able to understand even a little bit of Krishna, and we know that he is the Supreme Person and he's above all material things, and only by connecting with him we can be happy. Connecting with him in a mood of servant, being a servant, then we're already liberated. If we can always think of how to serve you, Krishna, then all these material things won't even bother or affect us. Whatever Krishna gives and does is perfect. That is the knowledge we get out of surrendering to him. That Krishna says that I'm here, I'm only controlling everything. Why are you worried? Just think about me. That is when everything else he controls. Either spiritually he controls or materially he controls. He is only controlling. Material life also, Maya Devi is, we are completely under her clutches when we don't think of Krishna. But she makes us think as if I'm controlling. That is the illusion. But in spiritual life, we know Krishna is the controller. I'm just, by cooperating with him, always seeking his guidance, always offering everything with love to him, then Krishna also confides with his devotee, and the devotee is not disturbed at all. So, how to come out of this material mode of passion, which is covering our vision of the reality, the truth, absolute reality, and we are going around thinking something else. We are in our own bubble. The reality is something, and we are in our own bubble thinking something else is reality. Illusion is reality. So that is our predicament. And we have to really, really pray. That is why we need to chant every day. Cry out to the Lord, please, my Lord, engage me in your service. I want to serve you. Everything that I do, let me do it as an offering for you, for your pleasure. Then see, only such people can be depended upon. A Vaishnava, anyone can trust him completely. Why? Because he is only doing according to what Krishna wants. He'll never do something according to his own selfish desire, what his mind is saying, body is saying. You can trust your life with a devotee. So that is how a devotee becomes such a great person, by always thinking of Krishna. And here, all these people, I mean, Shiva, Brahma also is saying sometimes they think of, bodily identification because they are managing this body, I mean, the two modes, and they are in the material world. And the material world has been created for forgetting Krishna. And so all the rules and everything that applies here are forgetfulness of Krishna. So sometimes they also get, you're constantly dealing with that. Very slightly they get affected. But then again, they correct themselves by thinking about Krishna. That is why living in the material world is so dangerous, because it's so easy to forget Krishna. Everybody is forgetful of Krishna. And if you are not careful, and then forget about your connection with Krishna, that's why wherever we are, whatever we are doing, we should always remember our relationship with Krishna. Never forget that. That is why a devotee's got dual life, one inner life and one outer life. Outer life, we have to socialize, talk to people, do correct things, so everything, all that, etiquettes, all that. But internally, there is another parallel life, right? We have dual life. One inner life has to be there, because otherwise we'll get so completely sucked by the external life and only think externally, just be thinking only all these things are really important and real. The real thing is Krishna. We are always living with him only, not with the other people. Other people, temporarily, we are doing, having some interactions. We can pretend and try to please them and all that, but then permanent resident is with Krishna. And if he is displeased with us, we're going to be miserable. So that is why a devotee always, even when he is with other people, he should not forget Krishna. I forget Krishna and try to please everything which Krishna is not happy about. I try to do things so just to be appease everyone and be very popular and all that. Then back home, okay, you had it. He's going to really either, because a devotee cannot live without Krishna. And if he cannot experience Krishna or his mercy, then he'll feel miserable. If he's on the mental platform, it's real fall down for a devotee. So that's why we should come out of the mental platform and never be in the mental platform, never fall down to the mental platform. That's why there are some jargons, right? In ISKCON, they'll say spaced out. Spaced out means what? Means you are away from Krishna and you're in the mental platform. And so you do some nonsense. We make mistakes. We talk all rubbish. We don't do our job properly. When we are spaced out, away from the space of Krishna, away from thinking about him. So that is our, and even for doing that, we have to beg Krishna only, because Maya's energy is working on us. She's so strong, powerful, pulling us in one direction. And on our own, we can never come out of his clutches. We don't even know we are in Maya. What to speak of
Hare Krishna
coming out
Mataji.
of Maya, right? We don't even
Hare
know that
Krishna
we are
Mataji.
in Maya. Yes.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandapana.
Then
Mataji, you said with devotees, we can't forget Krishna Mataji in the association of devotees.
what? In the association of devotees, we cannot forget Krishna.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, of course. But sometimes, no, I'm not, I'm talking of material, yeah, material world. And then there are different types of devotees also now. Those who are a little affected by Maya, okay, when you're doing Sankirtan together, you're doing all devotional activities, then
Mm.
it's nice. Everyone is thinking of serving. That is very nice.
Mm.
But in between, if there are some material, but they may have them, no, the modes are still acting on them, and they may act on us also. I mean, like, for example, just cutting corners and not doing things properly. It's okay. Doesn't matter. Chalta hai attitude. If you don't do properly, so what if we don't? Everything, you don't have to be a fanatic. Okay. Today, if we don't get up, it's okay. Let's all go to sleep. Devotee can do that also. Those who are not fully advanced will, they are devotees only. Okay, it's definitely good to be even with neophyte devotees, rather than, at least they are not against Krishna. And even if they are attached to some material things, still they will, it's nice to be with devotees. They, definitely. But there are, see, all these are great devotees, not Shiva, Brahma. They're all exalted beings and they're also under fire. So what to speak of ordinary devotees who are just trying to come, advance? So can be in Maya. That is why I'm saying you cannot even recognize what is Maya now. You might think I'm a very great devotee, chanting 16 rounds. I'm not doing 4 regulative principles. I'm already there. I'm almost there in the spiritual world, we may think. But there are so many subtle things which are affecting us. Always thinking of Krishna and offering everything with love and devotion to him. No, I'm taking so many things for myself, right? That is all Maya. That is all Maya. We don't recognize that. So that is why we've got a long journey ahead. And when we recognize that, then only we'll become humble and take shelter of Krishna. Please, Krishna, I'm an ass thinking I'm the doer, taking credit for whatever I did, feeling very proud on getting angry with other people, feeling jealous of other people. What about all those things? We, if we are still, we are in the material world. If we get all those negative thoughts, we're still here. And that is when, otherwise, if you're always serving Krishna, will be very positive, how to do good, how to do good, how to serve everyone, not at all be affected by anything, reverses which happen. Have we reached that position? And then we have to take shelter of Krishna, and every time anything happens, we have to. So that is why then we'll be out of Maya. So it's a struggle. We have to struggle. It's not an easy cakewalk. Going back to God, it is not just a joke. Wait, Vinod Prabhu has written a question. Hare Krishna Mataji, then a question. From where does emotions, desires, feelings, and consciousness arise? Heart or mind? How do heart and mind work together in those areas? Please add thoughts and motivations that list and clarify. So these emotions, there are two types of emotions, desires, feelings, two types of emotions. One is material, one is spiritual. Because now we are identifying ourselves with the body and mind, most of the emotions and feelings are all material. Whatever we are thinking about, whatever we disturb, even all our motivations are all material. But the more we purify ourselves, then we get spiritual emotions also. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was completely emotional. That is spiritual emotions. And we are in the material platform, we are also very emotional, which is not considered good. Because emotions is only making material attachment. And because of that, we commit many mistakes and sins. And somewhere in between these two is exactly zero. The Mayavadis, they try to stop all emotions, material emotions. But it becomes very bland because actually emotions are very good, spiritual emotions. So, right now, because of our identifying with our body, that's why we have these material emotions, too much desiring feelings, or all these things. And that keeps us on the material platform. So the way to transfer it, make it spiritual, is to surrender to Krishna. And so that our identification becomes more spiritual. But we should not become like the Jnanis or the Mayavadis, no emotions at all. I'll be like a stone. That is not the thing. We have to transfer it spiritually. There are so many emotions of love, affection. We should be like that. People think spiritual life means just, you know, be not affected. Yes, not affected by material things, but full of emotions. Vaishnavism, I mean, Krishna consciousness is very, very emotional, right? They are very, devotees are very emotional spiritually. They might all the time in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Bhagavat, we read how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is always pouring out tears, tears, tears coming from his eyes all the time and embracing people and doing everything, expressing such love for one another, praising one another so much. They want to be with one another all the time. Emotions are there. Emotions are the quality of the soul. But when it's identifying with the body, then it becomes selfish emotions. Is this okay?
Mataji, thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Where does this come from? Is that from mind or from heart?
Soul. Heart is also just a material organ. The soul who is residing in the heart, the Atma is the soul of, is the source of all feelings, emotions, and everything. Person, the soul, which is, we are the soul, and we have lot of emotions and all that. But now, and we are residing in the heart. And when we are identifying with the mind, then emotions will come from the mind. And when we are identifying with our soul and with the super soul, as a also we are attached to the super soul, then emotions come from the heart, which are pure in nature. So that is why we have two two kind of our own personalities, devotees, because one is the mind and the other is the heart. The heart is where the Atma resides. So when we are more attuned to the soul, then all the emotions will come from the heart, which are very pure and very nice, loving, selfless, all these, inspired. We are inspired by Krishna and we want to, those are all very selfless and very good. Whereas the emotions which burst out from here, they are material, selfish in nature, and they're not, progressive spiritually. So that is where we have to come. We have to transfer that by by chanting, by serving Krishna. Then our heart opens up. So definitely there are two types of emotions, from the mind and from the heart. And definitely from the heart is the pure thing, because the heart is where residence of Atma and Paramatma. And by developing our relationship as a soul towards the Paramatma, then we can have very wonderful feelings, emotions, which are pure. And as long as we're not awakened to our original position and our relationship with Paramatma, we will react from the mind.
Thank you, Mataji. It's very clear. Thank you.
Mataji, Hare Krishna, please accept my comments.
Hare Krishna, yes.
Mataji, in this context, when Krishna says like yad karosi, yad asnasi, yad yosi, dadasi yad, like all that you do, all that you eat, that should be offered to him. So that's understandable, Mataji. But in the same thing, if somebody does wrong with us, hurts us, or becomes envious, is that also we can pass on to Krishna, or how do we understand that?
But no, you should understand why should if we are getting it, first of all, the first thing is we think, why should I suffer? Isn't it? First thing that when we suffer, the question comes is, why should I suffer? So the why question is answered that, oh Krishna, you're purifying me. So we become satisfied. Okay, fine, I deserve it. Not that I do this thing. And only actually I should have suffered more, and you are reduced it so much. And also you're using it to purify me. It doesn't happen always. For non-devotees, it's not that every time they suffer, they get purified. But sometimes they may be purified again back to square one once everything is normal. But for a devotee, actual purification happens because Krishna makes them take more shelter of them. So that way, we know there is a purpose behind that suffering. And so we don't feel, we are not lost in self-pity. And, loss of faith. And we think, oh, what's the use of doing so many things and still suffering? Those things will go away. And then we understand that if somebody is being not envious of me, maybe, okay, if they are doing some harm to me, we take shelter of Krishna. Of course, we can also act to protect ourselves on our own also, but then it's always with the sanction of Krishna. We know we are dependent on Krishna, and only what is authorized by Sadhu Shastra and Guru, we do that to protect ourselves. But beyond that, how much can we protect ourselves? Only Krishna can protect. So we take shelter of the Lord. And what is the passing on the envy, or envy is theirs? It's not our envy. Somebody else is envying. It is their problem. Why we should worry about their envy? We are taking protection of ourselves so that we're not harmed. That is our main concern, isn't it? We don't want to be harmed. And that only Krishna can give us, that protection, and also the feeling of, moroseness as having to suffer because of somebody else. We want to be happy, and somebody is causing us disturbance. Naturally, we'll feel bad. We'll start thinking self-pity. Why I should suffer like this, all because of them. Then we do this, and we undergo a feeling of revenge, anger, all these things. But once we understand it's all Krishna only allowing it to happen for my purification, we'll not waste our time thinking about those people. Instead, we will, or our suffering, instead, we will try to utilize it for our own purification, our own remembrance of Krishna. Then the suffering will stop, because really it's only for that. All suffering is there simply to, and all enjoyment also, so that we get fulfilled, and all suffering so that we remember what is the purpose of and goal of our life here is to get purified and go back to him. Krishna is only thinking of that, and everything that happens in our life is just pushing us towards that. So then we need not worry about all this. And the Krishna is protecting us. Why we should worry? We only take shelter of Krishna. That's what Shiva is saying. That it doesn't disturb me what people are doing, because I'm taking shelter of your lotus feet. I'm not even disturbed. And he didn't even try to retaliate to Daksha, whatever he did. Vishnu retaliated. He did everything. He saw to it that he was punished. Daksha was punished. Everything was fine and came back to normal, all because of Vishnu. Shiva also is meditating on Vishnu for everything.
Okay, Mataji. So what I understood is, like, in that case, act as per the what Sadhu Shastra and Pramadi Guru says, and then have the unflinching faith on Krishna, so that he can protect all the time.
Yes,
And then
unflinching
keep
faith by praying to him. When
by
Mataji was sharing with me that a boss, she was a very creative person in some marketing, they were doing these marketing research company. So she was very creative. Whereas a boss, she was contributing to that, but the boss wanted that she should be very systematic and, report and write it down and like that. That was not her strength. So then what happened? Every time she used to jump on her and, scold her and all that. And so what she did, she put Narsimha's photo on a table. Every time that boss was jumping on her, she just used to see Narsimadev Bhagwan and take shelter of him. Then she saw the whole, the whole attitude of the boss changed. Then the boss started seeing the good in her work. Oh, you're very creative. That's very rare. And she started appreciating her. So in this way, practical realization of how Krishna intervenes in every situation, instead of getting angry and that we are acting on mode of passion, and we are losing out because of that. We are not getting support from Krishna. We're trying to act on our own and try to intimidate them and hit them back. Then Krishna doesn't interfere in that. Okay, you yourself manage. But if we don't retaliate and we think about Krishna, then Krishna does everything. And most of the time he does positively, like he changed the attitude of this thing. Or sometimes it may be negatively also, in the case of, not for us, but for the person. There was one devotee, again, boss problem. And then he was, he just took shelter of Krishna and chanting and all that. Then the boss only got, he left the job. So then he got a nice boss. So Krishna can do anything in any way. He may reform the boss if he's reformable. Otherwise, he might say, you take the pink slip and go.
Thank you, Mataji. So I think the confidence that we should have is, like, if Krishna is putting in that condition, I should understand that that's happening because I deserve it. But on the same time, I should have that confidence and that faith that Krishna will enable me to come out of this situation. And then,
Yes,
as you
because
said, pray more.
why he has put us in that position is only to rectify us. See it in a positive way. Okay, I deserve is one thing, but deserve also we'll start having, we might lose hope. So I'm so fallen. I don't know if Krishna will ever do anything for me. We might become negative about it and self-pitying about it. Oh, why am I like? But if what is positive about it is that suffering will last only as long as we are not rectified. We take the medicine and purify ourselves, finished, gone. That suffering will end. So that is why we should, in so many, from different angles, if you see, only because of our karma we are suffering. And we do all the positive things, spiritual practices and attitudes, develop it, karma is gone. Karma also goes away, and Krishna is actually doing everything only to help us go to the next step, go to the next step. He's always helping us climb before we become a pure devotee. So if we cooperate with Krishna, that's it, finished. That suffering will stop. And also Krishna says, take shelter of me and I'll solve all your problems. You will overcome all the problems of material life by taking shelter of me. On the other hand, out of false ego, you forget me, you'll be lost. Right? Bhagavad Gita 18th chapter, Krishna says, 18.66, 65, one of those. He is saying that. So you will overcome it. You will overcome. First, overcome by not being affected by it, and then overcome by the problem itself going away.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Then